Taking into account how important it is to bring together religious leaders, academics, and people from civil societies to speak together and to work together on this very hot issue, which is the inclusion of refugees in the societies they are moving, and to understand how important the role of the religion leaders can be. The joint organization of this symposium, and I would like you to see word by word the title of the symposium, which is Religions as Catalysts for Peaceful Coexistence. Religious leaders' vital role for enabling refugees. And for enabling refugees in what? In social integration. This symposium and this organization gains special importance by virtue of being held under the auspices of Patriarch Bartholomew, because he's an outstanding personality with worldwide reputation and who is very much respected in the West and in the East, and so his intervention can be of great importance. Panagiotate, your words of love, wisdom, and modesty, words that bring with them the century-long experience of challenging coexistence between different nations, religions, and tenets, can pass on much-needed messages on the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the year 2015 goes down in history as Refugee Year. 2015 has been marked by large population movements from Asia and Africa to Europe. It has been marked by the first border changes since World War II and collision between interests, religions, and nations. The year 2016 will be crucial for implementing policies that aim to tackle all sorts of crises. When it comes to Europe, these policies concern the matters of foreign policy, defense, internal security, and of course, the refugee crisis. The refugee crisis is an extremely complex problem, a problem which requires immediate as well as long-term confrontation. Before any discussion on this matter, I consider that it is necessary that people who work, think, and propose on this issue have to highlight that the primary priority consists of tackling the reasons behind the refugee movements, and the ultimate goal encompasses the return of population to their homes. It has become clear, however, that we cannot avoid dealing with the current dimension and immediacy of the issue. There are hundreds of thousands of people around, without home, without purpose, confronting with death and insecurity. I think that what we have to do in all levels, in policy, religious, civil society, is to see how we work with this first round inclusion of refugees. Our reality is marked at the moment by the movement of hundreds of thousands of people originating from different cultures and societies. These societies are characterized by different levels of economic development, institutional order, and religions. For these populations, religious rules have a much stronger influence over the lives of people, affecting the family model, the role of women in the society, the social interaction behavior. In addition, for a large part of these populations, religious rules take the role of the institutions and justice systems, which is the fundamental rule in the Western societies. On the other hand, the majority of societies that have been accepting the large number of refugees have been going through a long phase of economic and social insecurity, while populist, nationalistic, and xenophobic parties are on the uprise across all EU countries. We saw yesterday what happened in France, what is the first time ever that the more extreme right party has performed first in the polls with 30%, and it is the most xenophobic and anti-immigrant part in Europe. Walls have been built in the internal space of the European Union, while certain countries completely oppose the intake of refugees. We have official statements of leaders, of head leaders, who declare that they are not going to accept not even one refugee. At the same time, terrorist attacks have enabled the direct connection between terrorism and Islam in general in the public perception. This is the role now of the religious leaders. The burden falls then upon the religious leaders of Islam and Christianity. The role of refugees, Muslim religious leaders. I would like just to say that if somebody does not understand English, there are earphones outside. So, the role of refugees, Muslim religious leaders, what the religious leaders of Islam are responsible for. The religious leaders of the refugees, for their part, ought to inform people properly and cultivate in them the qualities of respect and tolerance, especially the obligation to respect and accept the rules of the cultures and institutions of the societies in which they establish themselves. The task of religious leaders, of the Muslim religious leaders, is twofold. On the one hand, they ought to support, at this difficult time, their own people, to respect and maintain their culture and to practice their basic religious duties. On the other hand, they have to inform and educate people so as to assist the integration of families and individuals in other cultures and in other societies which face their own problems and priorities. The role of Christian religious leaders in societies receiving refugees. Christian religious leaders play a distinct role because in European societies, state structures and public institutions are of primary importance. We must take into account, however, that religious region contains strong morals and can be more convincing because it is distinct from political interests and conflicts. The duty of Christian leaders is also twofold. On the one hand, they must explain to their flock that refugees are forced to choose between death and escape. They have no alternative. And that the human tsunami has never stopped in face of walls, as history has taught us. On the other hand, the decision of churches to provide real material help to provide real material help to the refugees through volunteering, financial support, food, and care for the weak is of vital importance. This choice serves as hard evidence for coexistence and reflects the central idea of love for others, which forms the basis of monotheistic religions. Beyond the actions taken by individual religious leaders, the situation requires their coordinated cooperation. I think this is one of the major challenges, how Muslim and Christian leaders can be together, can do it in public, and give the social example. Muslim and Christian leaders have to make it clear in the West and in the East that extremist interpretation of the Quran by extremist radical Islamic organizations all over the world do not express the majority of the Muslim population and insult their faith. It is therefore necessary to stop referring to the century-old crusades, which can only reignite hatred, and they have nothing to offer. The Institute of Cultural Diplomacy, ICD, as Mark has already explained, and Dictio for Reform in Greece and Europe, organized this symposium in hope that it will be followed by research, interstate cooperation, and concrete suggestions concerning the effective cooperation between religious leaders. It means information programs, training programs, big conferences, how they can be together. And I think, Panagiotate, that you could play a role in that, to bring them together and to organize particular programs on this issue. I would like to thank all participants, religious leaders, academics, in view of the tremendous difficulties of this turbulent international context and the distinct problems faced by Europe and Turkey. At this point, please allow me to say a few words about the role of politicians globally. The tragic events that have been taking place over the past few years in Syria and other countries, as well as recently in Europe, in Paris and not only, are not rooted in religion. It seems rather that they are the result of outright political exploitation of humans who are merely looking for their identity and role in life. In any case, the solutions are of political nature, and we must all work together towards a common target with the support of religious leaders from all religions. I firmly believe that in order for us to continue existing in time as human beings and as a civilization, we have to learn from scratch how to coexist. Our times are extremely difficult. We consider important the fact that this discussion is taking place in Istanbul, a city in which great civilizations and religions have crossed and are still crossing roads, a city that gave birth to two of the greatest empires in history. That is the Byzantium, which promoted Christianity as its main religion, and the Ottoman Empire with Islam as its dominant religion. Finally, I would like to thank everyone, and particularly Mrs. Evi Hadjiandreou, who have worked a lot for this conference, who worked for this initiation, who worked on this large and complex project, which concerns both the East and the West, but most importantly, the future of children, of our children, regardless of where they were born. I hope that this will be a productive, creative, vivid discussion, and our ambition is that this event will be a first step to discuss on this very important issue of the role of the religions. Thank you.